Hey guys, Charlie Murphy here. Thank you for choosing my video. Today I'm playing a session of 2-5 no limit 6 max games on Ignition. Lower left hand table, middle position recreational player limps. I'll isolate from the cutoff with pocket kings, isolating something like my middle position open range, about 21%. Lower right hand table, going to open queen jack from middle position, again using about a 21% range. Get limp min raised by that rack. We're just going to go ahead and jam them all in for his 175 bucks with the pocket kings. Upper left-hand table, got a recreational player limps to cut off. Small blind pops him up to 25. I'm going to 3-bet out of my big blind with ace-queen. Three-betting about 6-7% there in that spot. Get an ace-10-7 two-tone board. I'm going to go ahead and range bet him small after he checks. Got top pair second kicker, feeling pretty good about this setup so far. Upper right-hand table, going to open king-6 suited from the cutoff using a 28% range. Got some likely recreational players buying in shorter on most of these tables. Upper right-hand table only played an orbit, but nobody's showing themselves as an obvious wreck quite yet. We'll give another orbit or two just to see, but it doesn't look too promising. Lower right-hand table, get a 3x open, blind on blind. I've got queen 5, which is a very nasty garbage hand. A little bit too loose for me to defend or even put in a bluff raise with, but go ahead and fold. I'm going to be very loose in that spot, but queen 5 is a little too loose. The right-hand table, the cutoff opens for the minimum. I'm in the button with the suited ace. Going to go ahead and pop that up. 3-betting very aggressively here, especially against the min raise, about 14%. Upper left-hand table, and open jacks blind on blind using a 45% range. Upper right-hand table, and open ace-6 suited from the cutoff using a 28% range. Lower right-hand table, the cutoff player called my 3-bet. He checks to me in the flop. I'm going to go ahead and put in a small range, but I've got a good but not great hand on the ace-7-7 rainbow board with my ace-6. Mostly be checking turns, probably checking pretty much any turn that comes out here. Look to induce some bluffs or under-rep my hand and get some value in the bet-check-bet line from a pocket pair that just doesn't buy into what I'm doing. Protect my bluffs that aren't going to barrel the turn because they've got no equity, but want to bluff the river. He goes ahead and checks again, so I'm going to go ahead and try to get some value out of something like pocket tens, pocket jacks. Will value cut myself some of the time against a hand like ace-jack, ace-queen, but that's life in the big city. Upper left-hand table, what's effectively the cutoff, I will open king 10 using a 28% range. Lost our recreational player friend up there, which is sad, but I'm sure we'll find another one. Go ahead and range bet the big blind in the upper left-hand table after he checks to me in the flop. I do have top pair and the king high flush draw on that monotone flop. Lower left-hand table and open king 6 suited from the cutoff using a 28% range. For left-hand table, the cutoff opens 2.5x. He's been on the tight passive side so far, but only threw a couple orbits. Probably doesn't tell me too much of anything. I'm going to just defend a standard range here that includes king 8 suited for a call and check range on the flop. Lower right-hand table button opens 2.5x. I will 3-bet king queen or queen jack suited rather out of my small blind. 3-betting about 15% here in this very loose formation. Get cold called by the in position big blind player, probably a fish to be doing something like that. Upper left-hand table, monotone board, everyone checks through. I'm going to go ahead and start stabbing at that turn small. I do have a second pair on the ace-king-10 monotone flop with the offsuit 9 on the turn. Lower right-hand table, the RFI player goes ahead and just jams all in over the top with queen high. I've got no choice but to fold. Lower left-hand table, get a 2.2x open for middle position. I will 3-bet from my small blind with ace-king. 3-betting about 8.5% there. And let's see here. On the upper upper left-hand table, he calls my small turn lead. He put a 4 straight out there on the river. I'm going to go ahead and turn this hand into a bluff. Let me see here. I think I need to overbet here for a bluff. I'm going to go ahead and use this large sizing. Hope I don't run into a queen too often. Other than that, I should be able to take this pot away from a lot of, ace-x or middling 2-pair type hands. Also pretty hard for me to find bluffs here on a board like that, which I think might lend some more credence to my bluff appearing credible. Lower right-hand table, we're going to open ace-king suited from the cutoff using the 28% range. Get called by the in-position player on the button, so I will go ahead and check him. Get an ace-8-7 two-tone board. Suspected reg playing a bit on the short side there. Only got 430 behind him after calling. Flop checks through. Turn is the king, giving me top two pair. Since I think this guy's a recreational player, I'm going to go ahead and use a larger size here with my strong hands. I'm going to just get real unbalanced here and try to get value. He goes ahead and calls, which is good for me, unless he's on a slow walk set, in which case he was going to get my money anyway. River's a great card, offsuit deuce, total blank. We got a little over 3x pot left behind. I am just going to go ahead and overbet my top two pair, see if we can't get a sticky hero call from a suspected fish. Lower left-hand table, open ace-7 suited from the button, using a 44% range. The lower left-hand table, get a large 3-bet from the button. He goes from 1250 up to 60. Almost a full 5x 3-bet right there. Button versus blinds is a loose formation, though big blind a little bit less so than small blind. I don't need to defend quite as wide against the big blind. Given that it's the big blind, not the small blind, and he's sized up a little bit there, I'm going to go ahead and make kind of cuspy snug fold. I think it's pretty close, but I think the size up kind of tilts it towards fold, being a little bit better than it otherwise would be. Upper left-hand table, get a 3x open for middle position. Suspected recreational player calls out of the small blind. Suspected rec because he's playing a little bit shorter and because he's calling from the small blind. I've got a suited connector in the big blind. I can close the action. Going to be a very great decision to go ahead and call. Take that flop. Check range on the flop, and I'll just be check folding a board like that. Queen 10, 8, rainbow. I guess I do have a backdoor flush draw, but other than that, that's a pretty lousy board for that hand. In position player stabs for half pot after we both check, and I'll be getting out of the way. The rec comes along and check calls. Lower right-hand table, I open sevens from the cutoff using the 28% range. Big blind calls. He checks to me, so I'll go ahead and range bet him small in position. He check calls on the Queen 8-8 two-tone board. Turn is a deuce of clubs. I think the sevens here have a bit of showdown value against some smaller pairs or some ace-high type stuff. But there's also a lot of cards that are bad for this hand. I think I want to go ahead and continue betting using my half pot size on these flush closers to either fold out some stuff, deny some equity or charge if he's got something like pocket fours with the club that gets sticky, or ace-10 with the club in his hand. And then plan to check back the rivers unless I happen to hit a 7 for a boat, or maybe on a 4 flush I can continue bluffing with no club. there. On a hand like ace-10 with the club, he got there, but the exact kind of hand I was looking to get some extra money from on the turn there. So even though the result isn't great, I like the approach. Lower left-hand table, got a 3x open blind on blind. I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet my big blind with king-7. This hand is just outside my calling range, but I'd like to take a few of those offsuit junk hands that I won't quite call with and use them as pre-flop bluffs, so to speak. Lower left-hand table, got a 2.2x open under the gun. I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet from my button with pocket queens. Upper left-hand table, get a 3x open from the cutoff. I'm going to 3-bet again there as well, this time from the button with ace-jack. 3-betting about 12% there against that cutoff 3x open. 3-betting more like 8 or 9% against the under the gun spot over here. I get cold 4-bet, which is probably pretty strong given these tight formations, but queens is a little bit too strong to go ahead and fold, of course. I would trap with the aces. I would shove kings and ace-king over the top of this. I would call with queens, jacks, ace-queen suited normally as well. Against the cold 4-bet, maybe I'll dump the ace-queen suited, play a bit tighter. Queens, I still have to call. Upper left-hand table, he calls the 3-bet. I'm going to go ahead and continuation bet here after he checks to me on the flop. Range bet him small. He goes ahead and check calls. We had a king 4-3 two-tone board. Turn is the 8 of hearts. That's the flush closing card. And I also have the nut flush draw and blocker with the ace of hearts in my hand. I'm going to go ahead and keep barreling that and plan to barrel off on the river as well. Lower left-hand table, he bets 40 into 210. I feel like I've got to call with my queens for that small size, but I'm just not loving this setup here. I get check called twice on the upper left-hand table. River's a blank. I'm going to go ahead and put them all in for the rest, about 90% of pot. Pretty decent removal to the flush and to pairs of kings with the jack and the ace in my hand, blocking ace-king and king-jack, and blocking all sorts of nut flushes. Can put a lot of pressure on hands like middle pairs, especially those with a heart that'll call the turn and potentially fold the river. Hand like pocket tens with the 10 of hearts is a great hand to get the fold here. I face another barrel here on that 4-bet pot queens hand, and I'm just going to get out of the way at this point. I can still have trapped aces. I might have ace-queen suited if I call that pre-flop. Other than that, I'm just not in such a great shape, as he should really have all the aces and ace-king here, and maybe even some ace-queen, though granted I do block that. And I just shouldn't have nearly as much as he does. On the left-hand table, 3x open blind on blind. King 5 is a little bit too far down in my range to even use as a bluff. I would sort of 3-bet with king 6 or king 7 and call king 8 or better. But king 5 and worse, I'll just fold. Lower right-hand table, I'll open jack 10 from the cutoff using a 28% range. Lower left-hand table will open 10-8 from the button using a 44% range. Get called by the big blind, checks to me, I'll go ahead and range bet him small. I do have a little bit of backdoor straight draw here on the 7-7 deuce two-tone board. 9 is probably the best card for me to be barreling. Against the check raise here, I think I'll just go ahead and fold. Like I said, I do have a backdoor straight draw, but no club. I think I can just go ahead and fold this one. Look to continue with my pocket pairs, my trips or better type hands, of course, my flush draws, my backdoor flush draws. Maybe if I got some backdoor straight, like a double backdoor draw as well, like a backdoor straight and flush draw type hand. Let's see here. Lower right-hand table, get a 3x open from under the gun over a post. I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet it out of a small blind with ace-queen. 3-betting about 6% here. 3-betting pretty tight in this tight formation. Maybe a little, actually, that's more like a middle position open, so maybe a little bit looser, maybe more like 7%. Lower left-hand table, open in pocket eights in the cutoff using a 28% range. Lower right-hand table, he calls my 3-bet. I'm going to go ahead and range bet him small on the 10-9 deuce rainbow board. Hands like a jack, a queen, and ace are great cards for me to continue betting with. Let's see. We get a 4 of diamonds, giving me the backdoor flush draw. I'm going to go ahead and plan to continue barreling here with my overcards. Just try to put as much pressure on this guy as possible, given that I do have some equity here, and your removal to the backdoor flush draw. Lower left-hand table, my 8s that were open in the cutoff received a 3-bet from the in-position player, a 3x 3-bet. Against that, I can go ahead and defend a lot of my mid-pocket pairs. This formation's on the looser side. So I'm going to go ahead and call pocket 8s and check range on the flop. Upper right-hand table, get a 2.5x open under the gun. I'm going to go ahead and defend my big blind with king 5 suited and check the range on the flop. Lower right-hand table, we have a limper playing on 40 blinds from middle position. I'm going to go ahead and pop him up from the button with queen 10 suited, isolating something like 28% my cutoff range. I'm going to go ahead and check call the upper right-hand table with my middle pair and flush draw against that small, apparently a range bet. Continue checking on the turn. Lower left-hand table, get 3-bet, face a bet in position there. I'm just going to go ahead and fold the 8s, even though that's a small size. The recreational player leads into me for minimum 5 into 50 in the lower right-hand table. I'm going to treat that like a fancy check and just go ahead and put in my small 1/3 range bet anyway. Now he goes ahead and just instantly ships over the top. I've got top pair. I'm getting 3-2 on the call. I am calling off with my pair of queens here. He's got ace-jack, just totally spazzing out. Can't fold to these guys. Upper right-hand table, I get a second barrel on that queen overcard, an overbet as well. I am still going to check call, though, with so much equity with my pair and my flush draw. Continue checking on the river. Having bricked out, I'm really looking to just try to show this down for free, not looking to hero call necessarily, but let's wait and see what he does and make a decision based on what happens at that point in time. And he goes ahead and he barrels again, this time for half pot. Half pot is fairly bluffy. I think I may actually have to call this one down. Let's see. Half pot I really don't like to fold very much from these reg-type players, even though he's been on the nitty side here with the way he's been playing so far. Half pot's overbluffed a lot. The formation shouldn't change it too much. Yeah, I'm going to hero call. It's ace-queen, which is a very reasonable hand to play that way, but the price I'm being given just too hard to fold. Not for that price. Don't have to be good all that often to justify it, even though I think he's going to probably have a value bet queen there quite a bit like that. Lower right-hand table, I open king-queen from middle position using a 21% range. I'm getting 3-bet by the in-position player. I'm going to go ahead and fold this one out. Upper left-hand table, we're facing a 2.5x open from the button. I'm in my big blind with 4-3 suited. I will defend for a call. Check range on the flop. Same scenario, lower right-hand table, 2.5x open from the button. I will again be defending. This time I've got Jack-9. Checking range on the flop. Now we face a 1/3 probable range bet on the upper left-hand table. I do have a gut shot. It's a pretty weak hand, but I guess the 5 is still going to be strong enough to go within the loose formation. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a check raise here, just because I think that small bet is not going to be defended nearly often enough after I check raise. And he folds pretty quick to it. Lower right-hand table, I will also face a very small bet. It's a 9-3-3 two-tone board. I've got Jack-9 for a decent top pair. I'll go ahead and put in the check call, continue checking. Upper right-hand table, opening 4s in the cutoff using the 28% range. Goes aheads and barrels again. I could have 3x that didn't check raise the flop, though I'm mostly check raising that. That board's staying low still. I do, block hands like 10-9, 9's full. I think I want to be calling this and evaluating on the river. Continue checking. Upper left-hand table, going to open Jack-4 suited from the button using a 44% range. Big blind calls. Go ahead and range bet him small after he checks to me on the flop. Get a king, queen, deuce, two-tone board. I got backdoor straight and flush draws. Lower left-hand table, new table. Player tries to limp blind on blind. I'm going to pop him up with sort of the bottom of my raise range here, king-8 off. He limp calls, get an ace-8-5 rainbow board. Going to go ahead and range bet him also after he checks to me and I'm in position. Went heads up for a minute, but he seems like he's a wreck, so I'm going to go ahead and stick around at least for the moment. Going to open 9-7 heads up here. I'm facing the triple barrel on that ace river in the lower right-hand table. I've got Jack-9. I could legitimately have a lot of hands like ace-x. Well, not a ton of combos, but I can have a lot of my ace-x flush draws that check called twice and river to pair. I just don't think I need to be calling as weakly as my 9 with those lousy cards running out. Lower left-hand table, I face the check. Going to go ahead and put in the small range bet in position. Upper left-hand table, opening 6-5 suited blind on blind into a shorter stack player playing about 30 blinds deep. Lower left-hand table, he check calls, and the turn is an ace pairing the board, so it's ace-5, deuce, ace, full rainbow out there. Going to go ahead and check back my 9-7 with no real draw or equity, looking to maybe turn it into a bluff on the river, though, if he doesn't show any life. He goes in overbets, especially since I think he's a recreational player. No reason to try to put a move on him here with 9 high. Just going to go ahead and get out of the way. Upper left-hand table, opening 4s in the cutoff using the 28% range. Lower left-hand table, we're heads up, and I get a min raise from the button against this guy. I'm going to go ahead and re-raise him out of my big blind with ace-10 suited. Lower left-hand table got called in the small blind by suspected rec-type player. Going to go ahead and put in the small bet in position after he checks. I do have a low end of the gut shot. Lower left-hand table, the player calls my 3-bet. Going to go ahead and range bet him small with initiative on the Jack-9-4 two-tone board. Some cards I can barrel, cards like queens or eights to give me an open-ender or an ace. I can pick up top pair. I get check raise, but check raise small. I don't love my draw here because it's the low end to the four straight, but for that price, I do think I still need to call and just evaluate what goes on there. Pretty blank card there, the 3 of diamonds. Now he goes ahead and checks. I'm going to be content to check back with my 4s, get closer to showdown, keep this pot smaller. River is an offsuit 9, putting the 4 straight out there, 8, 7, 5, 3, 9. I'm going to go ahead and turn this into a bluff if he checks to me. Overbet there, be overbetting anything I'm value betting there because I'm just bluffing or I have a straight. Lower left-hand table, I opened King-10 suited from the button, got called by the small blind, probably a recreational player. He goes ahead and check calls my range bet on the 10-10-5 two-tone board. I have King-10 for a good, strong trips. Going to go ahead and continue barreling, overbetting here on the turn and plan to get some more money in on the river if he gives me the chance. Likely recreational player there on the upper left-hand table, playing 275 bucks deep in a 2-5 game and open limping the cutoff. The small blind completes as well, but we're going to increase the price of poker here. I'm in the big blind with ace-queen, so I'm going to go ahead and isolate the limpers. It's, you know, a nice tight 12-ish% range, something like 9s or better, ace-10 plus, king-jack, suited Broadway type cards. The limping player goes ahead and calls. As does the small blind player. I'm sandwiched between 2 players here now, multi-way, so I'm just going to go ahead and range check. I do have a gut shot on the king 10-10 rainbow board. In position player quickly checks back as well. Looks like he had the check fold button click, which makes me even more inclined to start bluffing at this pot. The small blind checks to me. I'm going to go ahead and lead out small with my gut shot. Lower right-hand table, get a 2.4x open from the button. I'm going to 3-bet out of my big blind with ace-queen. 3-betting about 14-15% there. Lower right-hand table, open Queen 4 suited from the button using a 44% range. Big blind calls, get an ace, king, queen monotone board. I will put in a small range bet and be planning to check most of the turns. I guess I could continue betting if I hit 2 pair or trips. Other than that, I think I just want to go into a check mode there with a queen with no heart. Lower left-hand table, I'm opening ace-10 from the button using a 44% range. Lower right-hand table, got a 3x open blind on blind. I will be defending with my king-9. He checks to me, so I'm going to go ahead and take a stab at this pot here. It's a 10-4-3 two-tone board. Don't have a lot going for the hand, but I can get away with these stabs an awful lot, so I'm going to try it. Upper left-hand table, recreational player open limps middle position. I'm going to isolate from the cutoff with queen 10 suited using something like my middle position open range, about 21%. I faced the check raise, which is a good play. You're starting to see more of it than you used to. Still don't see nearly enough of it, I don't think. But I've got king high, no real equity here. I'm just going to go ahead and fold. Upper left-hand table, the limping player limp calls. I'll be range betting him if he checks to me. He does, so I'm going to go ahead and do some of that. Best card for me is a jack that would give me a double gut shot if I get a check call here. Most other turn cards I'll just be checking back. Upper left-hand table, open in tens under the gun, using an 18% range. Likely recreational player playing about 30 blinds deep calls middle position. Be looking to check raise him and get the money in on favorable flops. The king 8-8 rainbow board, I'll check range to him. He quickly checks back. I'm going to go ahead and take a little stab at the turn here. And he just immediately min raises me right back. I am going to call that because the price is so good. Mostly folding the river if he puts additional bets in, but he could be doing that with a weaker hand. Now when he goes and blasts for pot, though, on the river, and I've got tens on the king 8-8 5 ace board, I think I'm just going to be content to fold that and not think too much about it. 3x open from the cutoff on the upper left-hand table from a shorter stacked recreational player that's been on the tighter passive side. 8-7 off's going to be a very clear fold under those circumstances. Really a fold against a cutoff 3x open anyway, but especially against a shorter player that has not been very active. Looks like an open limp on the lower left-hand table, then a raise out of the small blind. I'm just going to go ahead and fold ace-deuce, but it is intriguing to see a player I didn't realize was a wreck to be limping and limp calling, so that's a good sign for the table as a whole. We actually do have a limp from this 3-seed as well, so we'll keep an eye on him. These games really aren't all that shabby this morning here. They're pretty decent. Upper left-hand table, we get a 2.5x open under the gun. I will 3-bet my cutoff with ace-queen, 3-betting 8 or 9% here. Ace-queen plus, ace-queen, ace-king, king-queen, 9s plus, most suited broadways, maybe a couple wheel aces. Something like that. Lower right-hand table, going to open 5s in the cutoff, using the 28% range. Get an 8-7-6 rainbow board. Recreational player in the small blind comes along. I'm going to go ahead and put in a small range bet in position here. It's probably not completely correct, but it doesn't really hurt me too bad. Turn is the ace of hearts, putting a backdoor flush draw up there. I'm going to go ahead and check back my open-ender on the low end of that straight possible board. Evaluate the river. River is a 6 board pairing card. That's a very bluffy card, especially from fish. Not the best texture otherwise, but the half pot bet in the board pairing river just both correlate so heavy with fish being massively overbluffed that I'm going to go ahead and hero call with my 5s. 9-7, which is not a reasonable, it's a not unreasonable hand to play the river that way, I suppose. But I'm not folding to a fish for a half pot bet. It's not going to happen. The day I do that is the day I just got to hang it up for good. Lower left-hand table, open an ace-10 from middle position using a 21% range. Tight passive recreational player min raises the cutoff. I'm going to defend a bit tighter because he's been so tight and passive, but I really can't be folding suited cards in my big blind for a min raise all that much. So 10-5 is going to be a call, even though I'm going to be a little cautious against this guy. Check range on the flop. I do have top pair on the 10-8-4 rainbow board and a backdoor flush draw with the 10-5 of clubs. Now he goes ahead and puts a 2/3, 3/4 type bet in. I'm going to go ahead and check call with my top pair, check the turn. Great turn for me, the 5, giving me 2 pair. He goes ahead and blasts for pot. We got about a pot-sized bet left behind. I'm not going to be that worried about him having 6-7 for a straight or some kind of better set type hand or 2 pair. Looking to get value off a worse 10, a 1 pair 10 hand or an overpair, especially with this guy being tight pre-flop and probably having a lot more of a concentration of hands like jacks plus. I'm going to check jam. Try to get called off here and try to get paid. He folds, so I don't know what he was doing there. Lower upper right-hand table, 3x open from the cutoff. I will fold queen 10 out of my big blind, right on the cusp. I'll fold a few of the offsuit Broadway hands against the 3x open there. Really wonder what he's betting that hard and then folding, especially when a recreational player kind of shows that strength. I wonder if he's just doing it with naked overcards, which is crazy to think that those guys would do that, but I guess they do all sorts of things. Upper right-hand table, open an ace-7 on the blind on blind, using the 45% range. Upper left-hand table, open in 6-5 suited on the button, using the 44% range. Checking range to the recreational player on the upper right-hand table, queen 7-3 rainbow. I will check call my second pair top kicker, continue checking on the turn. Great turn for me, a 7, giving me trips top kicker. I will keep checking. He goes ahead and bets half pot. If he bet larger, where he tells me that he's showing strength and probably will continue, I might just go ahead and trap with this. Given that he bets small, I want to check raise and try to get the money in now. So I'm going to go ahead and go a little bit larger than half pot, check raise about 78 with about 78 out there, and just plan to jam the river. He calls, river is an 8, just going to go ahead and jam for about 80% a pot. And give these wrecks a chance to pay me off and give me all their chips. He calls off. My hand, of course, is good in that spot. And I do pick up the stack. On the lower left-hand table, I open queen-jack from under the, or middle position, rather, get called by the cutoff, and then squeezed about a third of the player's effective stack, the short stack spazzy guy that we played a hand with a couple hands ago. I'm going to go ahead and fold out of position, but keep an eye on that. See what I got called down with in the A7 hat. He had queen-jack, so his top pair got outdrawn on the turn, and he was fine to bet the flop. He was good so far. He just couldn't navigate the later streets when the board texture changed. Didn't realize his hand was no longer as strong as he thought it once was. Upper left-hand table, get a min-raise blind on blind. Against the min-raise, I'm defending just about everything, so I'm going to go ahead and call with my 8-5. Really only folding about 10% blind on blind there against the min-raise. Upper right-hand table, opening king 7 suited from what's effectively the cutoff, using a 28% range. On the upper left-hand table, he bets about 75% into me on the jack 6-5 rainbow board. I've got bottom pair, got a backdoor straight draw. I'm going to go ahead and call that at least once. I got a 2.2x open on the lower right-hand table. I'm in the big blind with ace-7. Going to go ahead and defend that for a call. Check range on the flop. Upper left-hand table, get a 9, give me a gut shot to go with bottom pair. I am going to go ahead and, let me see. I don't have a whole lot of bluffs here, because my most obvious draws now, 7-8 got there. There was no flush draws on the flop to start barreling. I guess I have some backdoor draws. I am going to go ahead and start stabbing with this, though, because my fourth pair just doesn't have all that much showdown value, and I do have good removal to the nuts. Plus, I can hit the hand there by hitting that 7. Lower right-hand table, I'm going to go ahead and check call that small bet on the ace-queen 3 two-tone board. Continue checking. Going to go ahead and 3-bet the 2.5x middle position, open from the cutoff with pocket 10s. And let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and just put in that big value bet on the river, just massive overbet. See if I can't get called off by some nonsense here that just doesn't believe me. When I'm in position, I love using those big overbets. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and check, give him a chance to stab with some total air here, as opposed to calm me down with the queen. I think he's going to have more air that bluffs than bluff catchers that call in this formation, where he opens the button, range, assume range bets really small, and then checks back the turn. Going to have all kinds of stuff like 10-8 that just is going to talk itself into having to bluff correctly, in my opinion, as a matter of fact. But he, however, doesn't bite. I wonder if he checked down a queen or some kind of pocket pair with showdown value. He checked down jack 8. Maybe he thought there was a smidge of showdown value, or maybe he just thought I was never actually folding. Either way, I wasn't getting called by leading there. I only lose value by not betting that river if he's got something like queen X or a pocket pair. I think his range combos have a lot more just total bullshit air hands that really need to turn themselves into a bluff a lot. This guy's limping again, giving me more credence to my suspicion that he's a recreational player, which I, of course, love to see because that's where I make my money. Another player, another suspected rec limps behind. I'm just going to check my big blind with 9-3 and check on the flop. Upper left-hand table, open ace-9 suited from the cutoff using a 28% range. A recreational player calls in the small blind. I'm going to go ahead and put the range bet in here after he checks to me in position. Board is 10-7-4, a two-tone. Turn is an offsuit king. This hand is probably okay to check back, and that the 9 or ace are both going to be pretty reasonable bluff catchers if I peel them. I think if I had a weaker ace, like ace-3, ace-5 kind of thing, that just doesn't have enough showdown value if I pair the kicker, I just go ahead and keep barreling with that. Ace-9, I think because I have some showdown value if I manage to hit a pair with either of my cards, that I can go ahead and just put that in the check back line. It also isn't something that draws real strong. You know, if it was a flush draw, I'd of course be blasting. River is an offsuit deuce. I'm going to go ahead and put in the bet at this point. Not going to show down this ace high on that particular run out. I think there's going to be more value in trying to fold out like a 7, pocket 5, something like that. Maybe even a 10 gets a little bit scared of the king, though I don't think I fold that too often. I think I'm going to get a little bit better by bluffing that ace high as opposed to trying to show it down. You know, a lot of the weaker ace highs, you know, ace-7, ace-deuce are now actually pairs that beat me as well. So the ace high is a little bit deceptive in how strong it appears to be. It was actually behind most other ace highs out there, either because they're out-kicked or because the lower kicker's paired up. Lower right-hand table, open 5s in middle position using a 21% range. Upper left-hand table, open ace-6 suited under the gun using an 18% range. That 5x open from a player that's pretty short and the cutoff is just too big to defend for a call with a hand like Queen 10. I'm probably really just going to jam or fold against that size with him being so short anyway. Lower right-hand table, opening King 10 from the button, using a 44% range. Upper left-hand table, opening Queen 9 suited from the button, again using a 44% range. The button goes ahead and puts in a 3-bet. I have a nice strong hand to defend with here this particular time. Against that size 3-bet from the big blind, I'm just going to go ahead and put in the 4-bet. and plan to stack off if he comes along, gives me any more flack. You know, 4-betting queens plus ace-king to stack off with, and probably ace-jack here is a bluff. Upper left-hand table, I'm going to go ahead and check back, having not picked up any real equity on that turn. Lower left-hand table, I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet the blind on blind battle with ace-king suited. Lower right-hand table, I'm going to go ahead and put in the range bet here in the 4-bet pot. I've got ace-king on the queen-10-7 two-tone board. I do have the backdoor flush draw or flush draw blocker to go along with my gut shot and 2 overcards. When I get check jammed on there, though, with the ace-king, I do think I need to fold that out. Would have planned to dust it off myself. I screwed up and used the wrong bet size for my bluff on the river on the upper left-hand table, but thankfully I got away with it, so that's makes me happy. I'm going to go ahead and 4-bet and stack off with ace-king here in the blind battle on the lower left-hand table as well. Three-betting something like 9s or 10s and better, and ace-king to stack off with. And then some bluffs like some suited offsuit Broadway is not quite good enough to call with. And we get a king-jack-6 two-tone board. Going to go ahead and put in a small range bet. Very happy with my hand, top pair, top kicker, and a 4-bet pot in a blind battle, of course, although I believe that goes without saying. Lower right-hand table, opening 9-7 suited from the cutoff using the 28% range. I mean, he could have pocket aces that he trapped with. He could have jacks that hit a set, but not going to be looking for monsters under the bed. Turn is the offsuit ace, giving me top 2. Given that I don't really, draw 2 or block any of the pat hands that are out there, or could be out there, like the potential Broadway straight or the flush draw, and my hand is strong, I just want to go ahead and ship this in. If he's got a hand like ace-queen or some other kind of weaker 2-pair or combo draw, I'll never get away. Just no sense in giving a free card here. I am going to go ahead and ship this in. Lower right-hand table, my cutoff open faces a 3-bet from the small blind. I've got 9-7 suited. It's a little bit too weak to be defending there, though we'll keep an eye on this guy because he is raising me here and making moves on me. He's really tanking, thinking about it there. He calls me off. He's got ace-queen, so I'm very happy with that result. Not sure what's going on there with the software, as he's already called, and they've got the tank icon up there on him. But I've done my part, and I just have to fade that 10 for the gut shot, so I'm pretty happy with this setup. I think calling with ace-queen offsuit against the 4-bet, even blind on blind, is probably a little bit too loose. He rivered a card that improves him, the queen of clubs, giving him 2-pair, but I already have a better 2 pairs, so doesn't do any good for him. He was really only drawn to the gut shot. Lower left-hand table, opening king-queen from the cutoff using the 28% range. Upper right-hand table, 2.5x open from what's effectively the cutoff. I'm going to go ahead and re-raise with my king-queen offsuit on the button. 3-betting about 13% here, pretty loose formation. Been an ace jack plus king queen suited broadways, any two cards 9 or higher that are suited, pocket sevens or better, and my wheel aces to get me to roughly 13% range. Something like that's a pretty good cutoff versus button 3-bet range. Lower left-hand table, an open king-queen, blind down blind, using a 45% range. Upper right-hand table, the big blind checks to me after I open the ace-10 from the cutoff on the king-9-6 two-tone board. I go ahead and put in the small range bet in position. Lower left-hand table, I'll range check to the big blind now. I got a pretty good board for my king-queen, the king-jack-10 rainbow board, giving me top pair, second kicker, and the open and straight draw. This is the player I just stacked in the blind battle last time, ace-king versus ace-queen on that coordinated Broadway board. Lower left-hand table, the turn is a 10. I'm going to go ahead and start putting some money in now with my top pair and open-ender. The 10 is not a great card, as now he could have some potential trips that were behind me on the flop, but now way ahead of me on the turn. But I'm still going to go ahead and put some money in here, as I'd like to bet very aggressively and with a large portion of my range here after the flop checks through. Lower left-hand table, open an ace-10 from the cutoff using the 28% range. Upper left-hand table, going to min-raise from a sort of tight passive player on the button. In the small blind, I am going to be re-raising my ace-king suited. Normally, I would 3-bet very aggressively here, 15%, maybe even more against a button min-raise. However, this guy's been so tight passive, I'm going to give him credit for being tighter than the average bear in this particular position, and 3-bet more like it's a cutoff open, 3-bet about 11% instead. So be a bit tighter because of his perceived tightness. He comes along and quickly calls. I get a queen jack 3 rainbow board. I've got a good card to start, or a good hand to start shoveling some money in there. I'm going to go ahead and range bet small. Got 2 overcards and a gut shot to the nuts and good removal to the top pairs. So I'm definitely planning on blasting all the way off on a lot of possible runouts there. In some cases for value if I hit hands, in other cases for a bluff if I don't. We don't get that far though, however, as he quickly folds to my flop bet. Got a 2.2x open from what's effectively middle position on the upper right-hand table. I'm going to go ahead and defend reasonably wide against that small sizing hand like King 8 suited, very clearly a defendable hand. Check range on the flop. Nice start there with the 9-4-4 two-tone board, giving me the King high flush draw. In position, player goes ahead and checks back. Turn is an 8, giving me a pair to go with my flush draw, so things just keep getting a little bit better for me. I'm going to go ahead and lead out small. River is an offsuit 3. That's a nice low blower. I could see him talking himself into hero calling down with a hand like Ace Queen, Ace Jack, Ace 10. I am going to go ahead and try to get some thinner value here with the 8s here, thinking that he will do exactly that. He snap calls, and my idea worked out as my hand is good. Lower left-hand table, I re-raised the blind-on-blind situation with Ace-King. Guy's kind of a shorter stack, probably a fishier type player. Lower left-hand table, I'm going to open the jacks in middle position using a 21% range. Upper right-hand table, opening Queen 8 suited blind-on-blind using a 45% range. I've got top pair, top kicker on the Ace Jack 6 blind battle 3-bet pot board. I range bet him small. He check calls. Turn is an offsuit 9, so my hand still feels real good. Going to go ahead and bet him about 2/3, and then just trying to get the rest in on the river. We don't get that far, though. Upper right-hand table, opening King Jack suited from the button using the 44% range. Big blind comes along and checks to me, so I'm going to range bet him small. I've got a good, strong top pair on the King 9-9 two-tone board. He goes ahead and calls. Now, I think I probably want to... I mean, I can have 8s full. I can have all kinds of trip 9s. I think I want to use this hand in the check back line. Is if I don't check back a lot of King X, I'm starting to have some pretty marginal bluff catching scenarios on the river. Plus, I can sort of induce bluffs with random high card floats, busted gut shots, or flush draw type things. Even ace high might decide to bluff. River is a pretty good card, the 9, so I'm going to go ahead and continue betting here now that, or not continue betting rather, but reopen the river for value with my full house. Upper left-hand table, I 3-bet the small blind after the cutoff open with King Queen suited. He calls. I get a Queen Jack 7 two-tone board, giving me top pair and a backdoor flush draw. I'm going to go ahead and put in that small range bet, and looking to continue barreling on lots of possible cards. Nice blank turn card, the offsuit 6. I'm going to go ahead and keep betting. Yeah, bet about 2/3. River is the ace. Now, I don't know. I should probably still be jamming all my busted draws like 9-10, various busted heart draws. King 9 of hearts is a great one to have. I think I want to be sort of betting a little bit on the thin side for value here. I don't want to put this hand into the check call line. I'm going to go ahead and blast off here for a little bit thin value and just see if I can get bluff catch. Not really sure if that's the move or not, but that's how I'm going to approach it. I can have ace-high flush draws that got there. I do block the straight with the king in my hand, so it's harder for him to have king 10. Got a full pot size, 3.5x open from a player playing just over 40 blinds deep. Because of the large pre-flop open size and the short effective stack, any 3-bet's really going to be more like a cold 4-bet or fold situation just because he won't be able to 4-bet me small. as such, I'm just going to either re-raise hands I want to get in, and then or a corresponding amount of bluffs that will play well post-flop if he's called. Because of that, king-queen really drops out of that 3-bet range, as I'm not 3-betting quite as wide. Long story short, I'm not 3-betting king-queen there in that spot when I often would 3-bet king-queen against an early position opener. Little slightly loose regish type player, probably a weaker reg. He opens the cutoff 3x, and the big blind with 8-6 suited. Can defend that for a call. Check range on the flop, mostly just be check folding that queen deuce deuce two-tone board where I've got no piece of it. However, he goes ahead and checks back, so I'm just going to go ahead and take a stab at it. Comes along for a call. River is the flush closing 3. I'm not entirely sure which hands want to be overbet or if I want to be overbet bluffing here at all, because he's a little bit on the fishy side. I definitely don't want to show down my 8 high. He folds king high face up against my 8 high, which kind of gives me a chuckle. My thinking was if I do want to have overbets there as bluffs, the overbet bluff should probably be hands that have good removal to the most common queens, so stuff that is close to the queen on the board. So hands like King Jack, King 10, Jack 10, I think would be the most likely candidates for the overbet bluff there. Lower right-hand table, get a 3x open from the cutoff. I will 3-bet my button with pocket queens. 3-betting about 12% here against that sizing from the cutoff. I get cold called from a suspected recreational player in the big blind, which I'm quite okay with, as I'm sure his range is not all that strong. And that also further tells me he's a fish. I get a 4-bet here from the initial raising player. Now, normally I just flat the queens in position. Although I guess in this particular formation, I just jam them a lot there. I'm just going to make him have to show me aces or kings here. Queens is just a little bit too strong to fold, and calling, especially multi-way, letting the other guy have a chance to come in there and peel an overcard or hit something stupid just seems a bit reckless. He's got aces, c'est la vie, but I hit a queen on the flop, so that's the way the game goes for him. Suppose if I would have called pre-flop, I would have hit my set on the flop and got the money in good as opposed to bad, but it's kind of it's a silly line of logic to start wasting too much time on. The real way to look at that strategy or look at that situation or develop the strategy is going to be that the 3-bet, of course, I think is self-explanatory. It speaks for itself. Now, in a cutoff versus button situation, after I 3-bet, when the cutoff goes ahead and 4-bets, assuming he's a reg, which I have no reason to doubt that this guy is, I usually just want to be jamming all in against the reg with kings and aces, ace king, and then calling with something like queens through nines, aces as a trap, and then a few suited Broadway combos like ace queen, ace jack, king queen. However, I like to start switching that strategy around a bit more when you've got extra dead money out there, so I'm rewarded more for getting my shove through because this 4-bet's a bit larger and there's more dead money from this player's overcall. Plus, me calling allows him a chance to come into that pot and sort of rob me of some of my equity in there. Long story short, because of the larger 4-bet size and the dead money from this guy's overcall, I want to be jamming a few more hands. Like I said, normally I would be shipping in aces, kings, ace, king in that spot, absent the extracurriculars from the cold call. Because I want to start getting a bit wider, pocket queens is the very logical next hand to go ahead and put in my jamming range in that spot. So the more I think about this and reason with it, despite the fact that I jammed myself into aces right there, I think it's just fine to jam queens. I think that's correct to do so. Wonder if I want to trap aces or jam aces. I could probably still trap aces because aces aren't so vulnerable. Queens are vulnerable to the overcards, so I probably ship in the queens. I still trap with aces, and then the rest of my standard defend 4-bet call range, there would be like jacks through nines, and then ace queen, ace jack, king queen suited. Maybe because of the larger sizing and the extra player involved and all that, where I've got to be tighter for all those other factors going on. Maybe I fold out nines, maybe I fold out king queen and ace jack suited and call with something like jacks, maybe tens, aces, and ace queen suited. Lower left-hand table, a recreational player limps the button. I check in my big blind, check range on the flop. He checks back on the 7-5-5 two-tone board. I've got trips top kicker. I then min bet the turn. I guess I could have also bet the turn larger against a fish, but the min betting is also okay. Now I've got trips again. I'm just going to go ahead and put in a nice overbet on the river and try to hope he gets sticky and heroes me with a queen or a king or whatever he might have. Lower right-hand table, open jack-9 suited blind down blind using a 44% range. Going to check range on the flop. Mostly check calling that jack 5-5 two-tone board. He bets real small, about a third. I will check call and check the turn. Upper right-hand table, I 3-bet the middle position open from my button with ace-jack suited, 3-betting about 9% there. I face a 4-bet from the middle position player. I can fold ace-jack to the 4-bet, at least against the pool. If I thought this guy was sufficiently aggressive, you could go ahead and defend some hands like that for a call. I'm just going to go ahead and fold that one, not thinking this guy for sure is completely wacky. Lower right-hand table, going to continue checking my jack, give him a chance to stab with bullshit air there, especially with an overcard peeling on the king. He bets half pot. Going to go ahead and just quickly call that off. We both had a jack. Jack's full, so pretty trivial call down. We were looking to chop. We were destined to chop that from pretty much the moment the hand started. Upper left-hand table, open ace-10 suited from the button using the 44% range. Same scenario, lower right-hand table, opening king-5 suited with the 44% range. Lower left-hand table, there's a 2.5x open from middle position. The cutoff player calls. I'm in the big blind with jack-7 suited. That's kind of towards the cusp of what I defend when we're heads up. With another player in there robbing me of some of my equity, I'm just going to go ahead and tighten up significantly and fold the cuspy hands. Lower right-hand table, a fishy player calls the big blind, then leaves into me for half pot on 8-6-6 two-tone. I've got king-5 of clubs with the flush draw, so I'm going to be continuing there. Get a little bit of help on the turn, that 5, giving me a pair to go with my flush draw. He continues betting, but betting small, betting half pot. Very easy call here with the flush draw. Mostly brick out there. River is the jack. Let's see. He triples into me for half pot. That triple donk is slightly underbluffed, but that low board tends to start making them get bluffy. There was a Broadway overcard, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're less bluffy. But the half pot sizing just being so massively overbluffed by fish is the real tell here. It's possible he's got 8x in his value ton in me, but I'm still going to call down just because I don't have to be good 1 time out of 4, and he's got so much bullshit there. Not good, but I entirely defend the call, and I'm quite happy with it. And the only reason I didn't call quicker is I was busy explaining how I was never folding. Lower right-hand table, opening 9-8 suited from the cutoff using the 28% range. Player sitting on 30 blinds, min raises me back from 1250 to 20. I'm, of course, going nowhere for that, but going to be very cautious on the flop as we're pretty shallow. Getting Jack 7-5 rainbow board. He blasts for pot, a little bit over pot. Not that much money behind. I do have a gut shot, but the 10 could be the low end, ignorant end of that straight on that Broadway board. Queen Jack 10, making possible Broadway straight with Ace King. I do have the backdoor flush draw, but there's only going to be 2/3 pot size bet left behind if I call. There's just no reason to float that guy speculatively at that point with so little money left in play. Trivial fold in the flop, in my opinion. Get a 2.5x open from the button in the upper right-hand table. I'm in the big blind with pocket sixes. This is right on the cusp of either a 3-bet or a call. I'm going to go ahead and call as that's my default, but it's pretty close either way. Check range on the flop. Upper left-hand table, got a 3x open from the cutoff. I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet my big blind, about 12%, including ace-queen. Upper right-hand table, I'm going to check call with my sixes against that small bet on the king 8 deuce 2-tone board. Continue checking on the turn. Upper left-hand table, get a king jack 7 2-tone board. I've got good removal to the top pair, and I've got a gut shot to Broadway, so I'm going to go ahead and be barreling with this. Turn is the king. I definitely have hands that keep barreling, like ace-king, king-queen type hands. I'm going to go ahead and continue barreling this gut shot as well. Put a lot of pressure on Jack X, middle pairs, nonsensical draws. I do still have some equity here as well. Kind of a loose, aggressive player goes bet, check, bet on the button. I'm going to go ahead and try to hero call off with my sixes, and I snap off 7 high. River is the ace of hearts. He could be slow walking away with trips. He could be drawing with the heart draw that got there. I don't think there's a ton of value here in trying to get that last bet, and I'm going to go ahead and take my free showdown. I was against king 10. I was drawing completely dead, as my gut shot also would have made the full house for him as well. Great river allowed me to not barrel off into a hand that was never folding. Very, very happy to receive that queen river and allow myself the chance to save the rest of my stack. As the plan, in case it wasn't obvious, was to dust off the rest on the river. With the exception being on cards that give me showdown value, but were not, in my opinion, good enough to value bet the rest all in. Upper left-hand table opening ace-queen under the gun using an 18% range. Get called from middle position, possibly a wreck. Really shouldn't be calling very much in that spot. Big blind comes along as well. Pretty good flop for ace-queen, queen 7-7, two-tone. Sandwich between two guys. Going to go ahead and range check. Lower left-hand table open an ace-queen from the cutoff using a 28% range. The imposition player stabs 15 into 38. The recreational player calls behind. I'm going to go ahead and continue for a call here. Can be worried about trip sevens. I don't have any kind of spade blockers on spade runouts. Get led into two-thirds by the out of position player. Interesting. Very interesting. My initial instinct is I should be folding sandwiched between these two guys. I'm really not that worried about the imposition player. I think he's just kind of stabbing with bullshit nonsense pocket pairs, thinking they might be good on the paired board. I guess I got to call this once, but I got to be cautious on the river, and I also got to be cautious if the imposition player comes along. Lower left-hand table, we get a 3x open from the button. I will be defending that with my ace-9. Checking range on the flop. Now he goes and he bets about half pot, which against a fish, that's an auto call. I'm really not sure if he's a fish or not. He has limped a few times. Yeah, even against a reg, that half pot bet is the kind of thing I need to be calling a lot. I'm gonna think about it for a minute, but check call bet bet tends to be a little bit less bluffy, but I don't think it's enough to counteract that sizing. So I'm gonna hero call. Yeah, against a 7, not terribly surprised, but for those prices, I really feel like I just can't be folding too much. Lower left-hand table, we get a 3x open from the cutoff. I'm in the small blind with 9-10 suited. Going to go ahead and put in a 3-bet. 3-betting about 10% here. This is right on the cusp of hands I would 3-bet or not, but I think it's reasonable to 3-bet it. Three X open under the gun. I'll just fold my big blind with Queen 10. No reason to get involved there. Lower right-hand table, open ace-queen for middle position using a 21% range. Get squeezed on the lower. Well, let's get the 3-bet in here on the upper left-hand table against that kind of weird spazzy guy under the guns min raise. Going to go ahead and put in the 4-bet here against that squeeze from the big blind with ace-queen. 4-betting queens plus ace-king to get in here in the squeeze situation, and ace-queen off is the bluff. This guy is kind of on the tight passive side, so this may be not quite as good as it normally would be, but I still want to have some 4-bet bluffs in my range to balance the big hands that I'll be doing that with, so I am going to go ahead and do it. He instantly ships, so I don't get away with it. Was also quite content to get ace-queen in against this player playing on about 30 blinds deep in his small blind if he decided to do something like that. Lower right-hand table, we're going to open 9s under the gun, using an 18% range. Upper left-hand table, open an ace-4 suited from middle position, using a 21% range. Against that 3-bet, the large 3-bet in position in the lower right-hand table, I can actually just go ahead and fold the pocket 9s. I'm also going to go ahead and wrap this session up, take a little break. Perhaps I'll come back later. I just missed that particular one posting, but the other ones we will get out of here on. Upper left-hand table, the big blind calls, then checks to me, so I'll go ahead and put in a small range bet. Do have a backdoor flush draw on the king 9-6 two-tone board. Lower left-hand table, open ace-jack from middle position using a 21% range. Get called by an in-position player and then squeezed by the button, so I just got out of the way with my ace-jack. Lower left-hand table got king 3 suited in the cutoff. That's right on the cusp of a usual open. We have a pretty clear fish in the small blind, though. Perhaps the big blind as well. So I'm going to play a few extra combos. Try to get in some pots with the fish and see if we can't hit pay dirt against them. Both fish come along, get a 6-6-2 two-tone board. So not the board I was looking for, but you don't always get the board you're looking for. Go ahead and check that one back. Turn is the ace of spades, putting a flush closing card out there. I get min bet into by the small blind. I'm going to go ahead and float that and see if I can't maybe take this pot away from him on the river. Now he goes ahead and he bets 20 into 45. I'm going to go ahead and put in my bluff raise against that size. Hey, that one worked. All right. It's nice when some of my bullshit actually works. Last hand is a garbage 9-3 offsuit hand on the upper right-hand table. I'll go ahead and fold that. Guess I do have one more coming to me on the lower right-hand table. Last hand on the lower right-hand table is also a fold, Queen 6 offsuit. So that is it for now. Thank you very much for watching my video. Till next time, this is Charlie Murphy signing off.